Stay tuned, stay locked to the Prophet Kwaku on the Nubian Forum People's Talk Show.
Well, Mr. Seco crowd and people can't say no, say that to me. Nobody else I'm out the tipper, I with the youth. Ram dancer town, black up dancer country. For all of the people in the community. I stick to my roots, I stick to my roots. You know about a Kwaku, gotta stick to his roots. I stick to my roots, I stick to my roots. You know Tipper Irie, gotta stick to my roots. Well, this is Tipper Irie, the original ragamuffin. And you know what's there for the Nubian Forum People's Talk Show with the non-fearing, unapologetic, the true Prophet Kwaku. Make sure you keep it locked.
We're not having it. Sitting back, those days are done. We're not having it. Prophet Kwaku show has to run. We're not having it. We swear from this planet to the sun, yo. This is Asha Senator MSC. We're not having it.
Otepa Kwaba Itepe Ineke J.R. Senebe. You're in tune to Newburn Farm People's Talk Show live on GalaxyAfriwit.com. Akwaba Itepe Ineke J.R. Senebe. Onotimagba Tonomofila Olodumare Jakimba. Greeting names of the creating force of the universe, omnipotent being that which is greater than ourselves, who has many names. Olodumare Nkulukulu Kwame Blafoshe Mungo Onieme Ja Jiniame Amenra Ashe Asheo. I have a heavy show for you this evening. And before we go any further, I just want to give thanks and praise to the ancestors who fought the enemies of Mama Africa for the last 60 millenniums. The ancestors who, when they were kidnapped and taken to foreign lands, escaped and set up their own colonies. To those who could not escape, to those who died trying to escape, to those who chose not to escape so others could escape, and to those that when they escaped never forgot their brothers, their sisters, their friends, their mothers, their family came back to free them. We say Moduba Fun to all of those ancestors. Moduba Fun to the ancestors who came in the 40s, 50s, 60s, and even the 70s to increase their lives and try to improve their lives for the future of their descendants. We say Moduba Fun Madasipa for your sacrifices. Yes, you're in tune to New Reform People's Talk Show live here on GalaxyAfriwit.com. And we have a show for you tonight, my people. And this show tonight, I'm going to interview somebody that I think should have been done a long time ago, personally speaking. A man who I've known over a number of years. A man who I've seen doing the work diligently in our community. A man who stands by his convictions, wear his convictions on his shoulders. A man who don't get frightened in the face of adversity. See, so this man here directly is a brother who I've known for some years now, and I've watched his work and I've seen his work. And I don't think that not only this brother, but brothers and sisters in our community here in Britain are not given the recognition that they deserve for the works that they do in terms of the liberation and Pan-Africanist works that they do here in Britain for us. And as we all know, that most of us in this society here who are people who we born here. Some are we born here, some are we are the send for them, where them send for and we there and we go through and certain things like that. Most of us who move on the liberation struggle to try to improve the lives of our children and our descendants here. Most of the people in here do not get the recognition that they deserve. Now, that is not saying that it is not saying that people are look in a big up kind of thing. But you must recognize them, because the same people them that you invite here from the Americas to come here and do all the lectures and things here, we have people here that is just as qualified, and in more cases probably more qualified than some of them who come here, yeah, to give lectures on particular scenarios. And that's not negating our brothers and sisters in the Americas or anywhere else. But I don't feel that the same kind of honor and respect is given to people who's here underground working hard for many, many years in the struggle, doing African Liberation Day and, African Remembrance Day, and even doing the annual African Emancipation Day Reparation March. These are key things in our calendar. And then people that run Saturday schools, that's been running from years. I'm going to interview an elder, hopefully, if he recovers from his stroke. But, for example, the Pan-Africanist movement in Birmingham have one of the oldest Saturday schools in Britain. Them started in 1967. You understand what I'm saying? And still running today. So we have got these icons in our community that, are not recognized. And I'm going to read out a bit of the resume of the individual, and then I'll tell you who he is. He is a qualified youth worker and community worker who became a leader within the Bradford Farm Youth Association in the early 1980s when he was just 20 years old. He is a firm believer in the principles of the most honorable, eminent prophet and king, His Excellency Marcus Mosiah Garvey, and the Black Panthers. That is that we, right, as African people, have to learn how to do for self, because he's a man, he's definitely about what we have to do as Africans by ourselves. And to be quite honest, I'm from that standpoint, that I feel that we have the ability, if we move together, to do a lot of things by ourselves. And I strongly believe that, he says, whilst at the same time recognizing that many of our communities need support and help, he has always believed that delivering service to most of the vulnerable people in our community is key. In this role, he has worked tirelessly to support the community to develop a sense of pride and can-do attitude, like we can do it. Don't sit down there and feel so we need anything from anybody else. We have all the skills and everything else within our community to develop ourselves wherever we are on the planet. In 1985, right, he was one of the co-founders of the Broadwater Farm Defense Campaign, which was established after the uprising and after the murder of Cynthia Jarrett. He became the spokesman for the defense campaign, declaring that self-defense was no offense. That was his term. Self-defense is no offense. He was at the forefront of the campaign for the release of the Tottenham Tree, the 3 men imprisoned for life for the murder of P.C. Blakelock during the uprisings. Although he himself, was arrested numerous months of time and imprisoned and things like that, he himself was also arrested for the murder. On a number of occasions. Because, they wanted to, after the uprising and Blakelock get chopped up and killed, they just needed to get some people, lock up some people. And so, they, you the normal things, sus, pick up black man and things like that, They also arrested him, saying that he was the ringleader of the uprisings. The Tottenham Tree were released within 6 years, right, of their conviction, making the Broadwater Farm Defense Campaign one of the most successful defense campaign ever. He has been involved in a number of high-profile justice campaigns since then, including supporting the campaigns for the justice of Jai Gardner and Roger Sylvester. He led the campaigns for the justice of Mark Duggan campaign in 2011 to present day, and the Nicky Jacobs is innocent of murder of Blakelock campaign 2014. He was the first person to hold a public meeting to expose the Met's gang matrix, which disproportionately targets black youths. Yeah, with this database where they had about 500 people on the database. Now thousands of young black men on this database as potential criminals who weren't even criminals. Yeah. This year, the Met was forced to remove the names of over 500 black youths from that racist database. This could not have happened without this particular individual's tireless campaign. Last week, his organization, Tottenham Rights, was at the forefront of a 1,000-strong demonstration outside Tottenham Police Station, demanding an end to police brutality and racism. He is now calling for dismissal of Cressida Dick, the Met Commissioner. He is also planning to bring the community's voice to Scotland Yard to let them hear how angry we are with this protest. This man here is called Stafford Scott, affectionately known as Stafford. And the line is open, and hopefully he will ring in now, and then we can start the interview with Stafford Scott. So, without further ado, Stafford, if you're tuning in, dial the number. I'm going to give out the text number and the WhatsApp number to people, so you can send your texts in and your WhatsApp to let me know that you lock on, where you lock on from, and in case you want to ask Stafford a question. Here he is, he's calling in now. Hold up, my brother. Hold up, Stafford, are you that?
Yeah, yes, brother.
Give thanks, my brother, give thanks. So, hold on a second here, my king. Yeah?
I can hear him, so I know I'm early, brother.
You can hear me?
I could hear Kwaku on the radio, so I know I'm early.
All right, then. If you turn the radio down, because it's going to feed back, beloved.
Okay, yes, yes. Are you that? Yes, family. Yes.
Yeah.
Give thanks, my brother, give thanks. Hold on a second here, my king.
Yeah, turn it down, because it feeds back on the radio.
Yes, I've done that.
All right, then. Just going to give out some numbers. Yeah, the text number and the WhatsApp number is 073 7792 0703. That's the number that you can send your texts in. You can send WhatsApp in. You can even send a WhatsApp question to Brother Staff if you want. So if you're abroad, it's +44, and then you drop the first 0. 073 7792 0703. I'm not taking any calls at the moment because I'm going to be constructing an interview with our brother. But we're on the face. I'm on the Facebook as well. So if you want to log in on the Facebook, Kwaku Bonso. And the live link number, if you're abroad, is +44. Drop the first 0. 0207 193 0174. Repeat, +44. If you're abroad, drop the 0. 0207 193 0174. You're in tune to New Form People's Talk Show live here on GalaxyAfreeway.com, the only brainwashing station in this nation. Brother Stafford. Otep, my brother.
Otep, brother.
Yeah. So you heard me read out that resume of you, Brother Stafford. And one of the first things that I want to ask you before we go into what you're doing present day, what made you put yourself up forward to get involved in the Broadwater Farm defense campaign?
I mean, before we had a defense campaign, we had a youth association. I'm talking about the 1980s now.
Mm-hmm.
Broadwater Farm was, it was identified by the police as being a symbolic location for policing. But for us as young people, it was a symbolic location because it was a front line.
Mm-hmm.
It was Tottenham's front line, North London's front line in the battle against racism and racists. It was a space that we cleared racists out of it. There's a dumping ground, there's a estate in North London, in Tottenham, but we cleared the racists out, we liberated the estate, and we started to deliver services And again, going back to this is the 80s. So when I say we're the first bunch of the children of the Windrush generation who are going into public housing, council housing. Back in those days, we understand that even the most radical left-wing councils were racist, institutionally racist, and they dumped lots of people on the farm estates, lots of young people. So we created a youth association to try to look about the needs of young people in that area.
So you yourself was a young man, because you was only about 20 years old in day. I mean, more time in them day, at them age, man just want to go and rave and do certain things. Man don't even want to get involved in no political activism. So what, you know?
I was no different, brother, but having been arrested for sus, having seen, I was actually, the first thing I ever got arrested for in my life was sus, and I was criminalized and framed by the police. And in that same action, I saw my brother and good friends who had previously been arrested for sus get sent to detention center in Borstal. So obviously that kind of had an impact on a man. Just like criminalization has impact on young people today. And just like them, today I responded negatively to that criminalization and that oppression. I decided they're going to treat me like a criminal. I'll show them how bad a man could be. Within a little while of that, I was in a few years in prison. But whilst in prison, I read some books, brother. Some books, Black Americans, Civil Rights Movement, the Black Panthers, Scott Sprit Brothers. Books that made me understand that, because you know these youth they think that what they're doing is that's black. When I was a youth and I decided to go wild because of how the system treated me, I thought that's what being black was. Raga. These books taught me that being black meant when you're black and in a white man's system, you have to be prepared to make certain sacrifice. And what my mum taught me as a youngster growing up is, in our communities, each one teach one, and who know better must do better. Ashe. So, my mum wanted to help with a lot of his brethren, and a lot of the brethren, they'd been kicked out and excluded from school at a very early age. So, when we came together, you know how it goes, brother. When it came together, it's not even that I wanted to be the spokesperson or representative, it's that people felt that I could play the role, so I played the role. And over the years, you just do what needs to be has to be done for me.
All right, you know what? The Tottenham uprising was very similar to the uprising in Brixton in 1981. But tell me, what was the atmosphere like before the killing of Cynthia Jarrett, and then after? What led up to the killing of Cynthia Jarrett, and then what transpired after that? What was it? I mean, we know it was the death of the ignition, but what was the feeling of the people in Broadwater Farm and in Tottenham at that time?
All right, so you liken it to Brixton 81, but we in Tottenham, we liken it to Brixton 85. Okay? Because Tottenham was a melting pot at the time. It's not dissimilar to today, where we saw the police increasing the amount of brutality and the violence that they were giving out to us. We were on our front line. The police called our no-go zone. We were fierce down there. We weren't allowing police to come in and pick off and take off people. So the atmosphere was between police and community was hostile. They were hostile to us. We were hostile towards them. We were ragamuffin. We was a youth association. As far as we were concerned, we had our little army, and they had them army.
Ashe.
So the atmosphere was that we were ready to defend ourselves, and as I say, self-defense is no offense. But my brother, 1985, Cherry Grove, your family.
Yeah, 28th of September.
Your family, all right? 28th of September, that's exactly 1 week. Exactly 1 week, you know, brother.
Yeah.
1 week after that, they came to Tottenham and killed Cynthia Joe.
Yes,
Whether you think we saw what they did to Cherry and we didn't feel it in our hearts in Tottenham? You think certain man never jump on train and come south, shoot Cherry in her back when she was just in a nightie running up the stairs? We couldn't believe that. We couldn't believe that. So when in 1 week later, they come into our auntie's house and push her down and take her life therein. But we couldn't control. It's not even that we couldn't control ourselves, you know. The truth story is that they arrested her son. His name was Floyd Jarrett. He was driving a mash-up old BMW. But because they never expect to see us in them cars, they stop him. They create an argument. They said that he had an out-of-date tax disc. Foolishness. Then they said the vehicle, the VIN number didn't match the tax disc. Long story short, they end up arresting. They say he tried to assault them. They took him to a police station. A police officer inside the station who was meant to be going off duty saw him, knew that he was a member of the youth association, so decided he was going to get involved. He stole his keys out of his property and went to his mother's house, used the keys to open the door, didn't even ring the bell, and went in. And the mother comes surprised. She see these 4 or 5 white men in her house, and then the man push her down, and she had a heart attack, and he carry on search the place, you know, brother. Imagine there's a car team, and he's in the house, push her down. And people need to understand, Floyd Jarrett went to court, charged with assault, and he got off of those charges. There was no reason for them to be in the house. So we as a youth association...
You know, that's a very similar story to that of my family, Cherry. Very similar story.
Michael.
They went to Michael's flat. The flat where he was living.
Yeah.
To arrest him. And him jump out of a window and escape from them. And then they went to her house. Like he was going to be an idiot to go to his mum's yard. You understand? And when they bust open the door, and she came, because she never ran up no stairs. She came out of the room where she was, and they shot her.
Oh, wow.
You understand what I'm saying to you? So it's a very similar story, but continue, my brother.
Yeah, so we basically, we went to the police station, and they were hostile. So being one of the leaders of the youth association, I called people onto the Broadwater Farm Estate to the youth association space. We had a community centre there. I called people there for us to have a public meeting, a community meeting. We hung out there talking for a while, and then we took a decision that we was going to go back to the police station to demand the suspension of the police officers involved in the raid. But as we tried to leave the estate, the police came on us, brother. I think they tried to do the first ever kettle because they surrounded us on that estate.
See.
We were shocked. There was there in their hundreds, all already kitted up in riot gear.
Ready for the thing.
Ready for it, brother. And hear what they was telling us. They're telling us, yo, you go back down there. You're not coming out. You can't leave until we tell you can leave. This isn't Brixton. I let them tell you, brother. They told us, this isn't Brixton. That's Sodebatar. Yeah.
So what was the feeling amongst you young men at the time when they said this isn't Brixton? Because remember, say you're 20 years old, you know, what you talking about?
Our wiring a bit. All of us have been arrested for SOS before. All of us have been criminalised. Few of us have work and job. Where we cleaned up this estate in a bit and brought down crime, the police, when we did it, the police said, if we brought down crime, it's only because we're the criminals. So no matter what we did, they didn't give us no leeway. This day here now, you've just killed our brethren's mother, and you're coming to chop us up on this estate, and you're going to tell we that we're not Brixton, even though Brixton just gave you 2 days of problems.
3.
So now that's 3 days. All right, so now they're going to tell us now, you know, family, that they're coming to give us problems.
Mm-hmm.
So they add us down there a little while, you know, and then some of them start come through beating on their shields, making the rages, ooh, 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 niggers, wogs, all of, you know, they are them.
Yeah. And you know, my brother, it's important that you repeat what you just said, because I don't know if a lot of young people is listening to the show this evening, but they need to hear what you're saying, because we never, the language there now, we never use those language towards ourselves like our youth them is doing it now.
We can get to all of that, you know, brother. I don't understand that neither. Yeah, that's their language, family. They were calling us niggers. They were calling us wogs, right? They were telling us this is a farm, we must stay in our hole, we're rats in our hole. That's what they're telling us. Until some people say, yo, we're not having this. Well, we're not going to let them people come here and cattle us like this. You're crazy. The thing is they were still worried about this estate. And they said that they had some information that we had some lakes of petrol set up over there for them. So they didn't want to come into the estate. So we had them on the fringe of the estate. And long story short, you know, brother, it kicked off at 7 o'clock. By 11:30, it was done. 243 police officers was injured. 30 of them never returned to work. And one of them was dead.
He died in battle.
Within 4.5, he died wicked, family. Within 4.5 hours. And that's about a community showing its anger, not being distracted and looting, but being focused on the enemy. Right? And you see, I use those words, the enemy. When we went to court as an Old Bailey, when there was a murder trial, and they played police recordings of that day, my brother, here what the police are saying, the enemy is coming, the enemy is on the move. I said, them are the army, you know. And I don't know, I only ever heard them use that against Germany before. So they were talking like we were alien army, not like we were citizens and subjects, the enemy. So this was two gang clashing, and we had no mercy for them, family.
Ashe. Listen, man from dancer left to come up there, you know, rude boy. You know that, innit?
We're a community, you know. We geographic boundaries shouldn't be restricting us or limiting us.
And it's important that this story is told, because our youth them don't realize. You know, I was talking to my son and my grandson the other day, and you know the things they were saying that, boy, you can't go down there. And I was explaining to him there was no way in the 70s and the 80s, that no once black people was there, we went there.
Come on, man.
Broadwater Farm.
And was welcome, man.
Stone Bridge.
Come on, right?
You understand?
It's like we come at Brixton and Railton Road.
And all them places there. Ladbroke Grove.
Manners and respect.
Yeah. So there was no way that black people was, that other black people. In fact, we wanted to go where other black people was.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Why would you want to go anywhere else?
This is it.
In some sense, my brother, in some sense, this story is going to help the younger ones, if they're out there, to understand where the ends come from.
That's right.
Right? Because we was a front line, Brixton was a front line, Ladbroke Grove was a front line. And all of these areas were identified.
Stonebridge was a front line.
Right?
Sanjanam Road, Darlston was a front line.
These places had front lines, right? And everywhere, but some places were identified by the Commissioner of Police, Sir Kenneth Newman, when he came over from Northern Ireland, because he was bringing tactics. Certain areas were identified as symbolic locations for policing. At the time that we heard that, we didn't understand what this meant. What we came to learn was what it meant was they're going to over-police us.
SP, Special Patrol Group.
Yo, but
vans with mesh on it, and them things you only see them in an island.
All right. You can see exactly what's happening today, though. In those days, Today, those days they were called SPG, Special Patrol Group. Today they call them Territorial Support Group. The same people.
Same people.
That's the police. That's the police mafia, the rugged forces. That's the police's SAS, Batman.
Because it's a very short show and it's only 2 hours, I just kind of want to move on a bit, yeah? Because I'm going to invite you back. In fact, I'm going to invite you in the studio where we can just go through that whole thing, break it down, and make our people hear everything. So, the old Broadwater Farm thing happened. You dealt with their case. What happened after that? What were they like after you dealt with their case?
Well, as you can imagine, family, all right. So what happened really, brother, and I have to kind of tell this story. So we were fortunate in a sense. We had now had something Brixton still didn't have. Not just that a police officer's life had been taken. So some people felt eye for eye, tooth for tooth. Not just that, right? But we had a leader of the council who was not willing to vilify us. Oh,
yes, the great Bernie Grant.
The great Bernie Grant, rest in peace. That's my personal mentor.
Ashe.
I was fortunate enough to know before he became leader of council, when he was leader of the council, when he became MP. That was my mentor, my hero. So what we had was a Bernie Grant, brother. And let me tell you this. What Bernie did, because he saw what happened in Brixton, 3 years, what happened in Manchester, Liverpool, 2 days, he didn't want more days. So he called me as a leader of the Youth Association. He said to me, Staff, what do I have to say and do to stop there being more violence tonight? So I said to him, Bernie, the man them say that they want you to tell the world that the police came here to do us damage. They came here to do us harm. And we just defended ourselves. And we shouldn't be punished because we defended ourselves well and gave the police a bloody good hiding. And Brother Bernie gave them that message, and you know what happened.
Well, we know what happened, and it was big news, innit? Different. It was a different scenario. What Elder Bernie Grant did, ancestor Bernie Grant did, to what David Lammy did at the murder of the young Duggan boy.
After Duggan. I mean, again, my brother, normally after an uprising or riot, whatever people want to call them, rebellion, normally the civic leaders will say, yes, we understand that black kids have a hard time and it's a bit difficult, but there's no justification for this behavior. Whereas Bernie Grant didn't. Bernie said, yo, I've seen what you've been doing to these youths. I understand why they decided to defend themselves, and self-defense is no offense. They gave you a bloody good hiding. And, brother, that kind of ratcheted up things.
Yeah, he got vilified for that, didn't he?
Totally vilified. And again, unless he was around at the time, you won't believe they called this man in the newspaper. Yeah,
and they wanted to run him out of the Labour Party.
This man was the leader of the council, the first black leader of a municipal authority in the history of this country. And they're calling him monkey, calling him gorilla.
Everything.
All kinds of...
The mirror, the sun.
If you wasn't, you had to be alive them days to see that.
To see that, yeah, for real.
How they vilified him. But family, hear this. So in doing that, he felt emboldened because he did what we wanted. So what he did was he called every cleaner in Haringey on a Sunday to come and clean the estate. Clear it of all the debris, clear it of everything they could possibly use as a weapon on a second night of rebellion. At the time the cleaners came there was 1,450 policemen over there. 1 square mile, you know, brother. So they're shoulder to shoulder. And guess what? They moved out the way so the cleaners cleaned everything. But brother, guess what? That was every piece of potential forensic evidence the police could ever get. Everything they allow to be moved. Now, this is the biggest cock-up in the history of British policing. Yeah? And the police know it, but they don't tell the world. And because there is now no forensic evidence, the only way they can get people convicted is by confession. So you can imagine the squeeze where they put on. That's a community, brother. They arrested 365 people. 60 of them was charged for riot and affray. 60 of them was charged for riot, affray, and murder. They were called the Tottenham Six. And throughout the 80s, we had a number of court cases. Young people was going to court. They were charged with affray. If they're found guilty, the judges was giving them 6 years, where normally in affray, judge would give them 2 or 3 years. So even people who wasn't proven to be involved in the murder was treated like murderers.
Because they needed to avenge the debt. That's what it was.
Absolutely, my brother. They needed to avenge the debt. But in so doing, they abused everybody's rights. And they framed my brethren Winston Silcott. And it was that we was able to prove by a test called the ESDA test that proved conclusively that the words they said he said whilst in the cell was not said, and that they wrote their own version. So even in the midst of this investigation, and this was the most expensive and intensive investigation in the history of British policing, and it's still up until today, my brother. And remember, they keep on reopening the case. In 2014, they arrested a guy called Nicky Jacobs and charged him with Blake Dutt's murder, and we had to campaign for him too. So they keep on reopening the case. But we not only gave them a bloody good hiding on Boardwalk Farm that night there, we gave them a bloody good hiding in the courts too, my brother. We stood up to them, and we were able to stand up to them because Brother Bernie, he politicised our struggle. He politicised our defence campaign in a way no other defence campaign get politicised. So he would bring us on platforms. I've shared platforms with Tony Benn. I shared platforms with Arthur Scargill, with Red Ken when he was actually Red. You know, we shared some platforms with some of the hardcore Don Labour left-wing.
Left-wing man them, yeah.
And it meant we could deal with the police differently because we wasn't dealing with them.
And not only that, beloved, sorry to cut you, not only that, but it made attacking you a lot harder for the police because you had political backing.
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely.
So if they come for you, they must come concrete. As it's not like they were going to arrest some ordinary man on road who don't have no kind of backup. You understand me? They can fling in, chinging, losing. Some man gone to jail, you know, from those uprisings and still in jail today.
From the 2011?
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll get there.
And 85. There's men who get lost in the system that people don't even know about them. Because the man them just arrest them, lock them up, them end up in a fight, war in a prison, and they just become institutionalized. Just like members of the Black Panther Party is still in jail today.
No way, we know about that, brother. We know about that.
But continue, my brother.
So we had the most outrageous, scandalous court case where, again, there was no evidence against the 6 people on charge. 3 of them was juveniles. They got the juveniles to name the adults, where the juveniles had never met the adults. The juveniles had gone to the school for, excuse me, but as they called it in those days, for educationally subnormal children. So they used vulnerable children to bait and capture the adults, and the adults got found guilty whilst the children got released. So 3 adults, Winston Silcott, and he's one of my best friends, Mark Braithwaite and Engin Raggett, they were all given life sentences. My brother Winston was given a minimum of 30 years. But we know if you went to prison as a cop killer, you're not going to come out of prison. So we launched a campaign, the Boardwalk Farm Defence Campaign, and we, for which I was the spokesperson. And as I say, within 6 years, the Tottenham Three were released. And obviously, that was a great success.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be involved in something like that and then go back to sleep, you know. So I've been campaigning ever since then, from 1985 right through to today.
Mm. So we move on. You know, we know that you did that work, and I think that, you know, I'm going to have to bring in the studio for you to really take us through that journey that you went through. But you continue.
What I didn't say, sorry, is I myself was arrested for murder a couple times, for Blakelock's murder. And they also accused me of being the ringleader. They said Winston Silker was the muscle and I was the brains. But I sued them, and they had to pay me money in an out-of-court settlement.
I sure.
So it's not just the political support of Bernie, but I know a great team of civil and legal solicitors who also offered support. And obviously the police learn a lesson that when a man stands up to them and comes back at them with a legal team, then they kind of learn that they can't just play with you.
So, and we're talking back in the 80s here now, yeah?
Yeah.
We're talking back in the 80s where, really and truly, there was a lot of cover-ups by the police, even though there's cover-ups now. But then it was an epidemic, you know? So for you to be able to come back at them and sue them, that was a magnificent victory.
Yeah.
That I don't think people, our people in the community don't know about that.
Well, locally people know, I guess. But from my perspective, you know, brother, I'm not one of them man them who like to come out and talk about me, and I.
I know that, Stafford.
I know there's a lot of people out there who do that.
But I know that, Stafford. That's why I chose to do this interview with you, because obviously you had the demonstration Saturday gone in Tottenham outside the police station. We're going to come on to that in a few minutes. But I felt that, you know, your story need to be told, because we revere people who other African brothers and sisters that are not in this country, them they're somewhere else, in the Americas mainly, and we revere their stories. But we have those stories here. And even though you're a man who, that is not your forte, your story must be told so that our young people can hear your story and be inspired by it. You understand what I'm saying to you?
Well, thank you, brother.
Yeah?
It is my intention that when I slow down, I will write about what I've done, so that those who come behind me know what we've been through, understand why we're in the situation and the condition that we're in today, understand that we have had victories, but every time you get a victory, the system redoubles its effort.
That's right.
And comes back and pushes back. So I will try to be. I'll be doing things to capture legacy. I will definitely.
No, definitely. I feel that we need to capture that legacy ourselves. And you know, I had a conversation with my son and my grandson today, and I told them a story about me, which they were quite shocked. Yeah, and my son said to me, "So, Pa, why didn't you tell me this before?" I said, "Because you weren't ready to hear this."
You wasn't ready. Right.
But now you're at the age. You're 15 now. You're 16. You're ready to hear this story. I'm not painting myself to be no holier than thou person. I just want to make you know where I'm coming from and why I'm on you lot the way I'm on you lot. Because you can do better. You understand what I'm saying? So your story is a story, and people like you, there's loads of us out there. Nobody don't know your story. You go through, you do your works, yeah, you done it. Yeah, who did that? Who was it? And then you go by. But then we're bigging up people, and I'm not saying we shouldn't big them up, but we need to big up those who's here, on the ground, doing the work. You know what I'm saying to you? So we pay loads of money, right, to brothers in the Americas to come here to do lectures, and everybody crangs up and spends all this money to air what you could go and do and tell them. You understand what I'm saying to you? Right? And many others. There's so many of us here that's been on this road for X amount of years, being harassed by the state and being arrested, our families attacked, murdered, and all the rest of it. You understand what I'm saying to you? But nobody knows those stories, and those stories need to be told, because maybe those stories being told will make our children realize, boy, I shouldn't be doing that to my brother over there or my sister over there. You understand what I'm saying to you? Yeah?
And that's why the system doesn't allow for our stories to be told, brother.
But we got the mechanisms now that we can tell them stories.
So we have a responsibility.
Yeah. And we got the mechanism. There's nothing stopping us from telling that story, putting it in a video and posting it out and sending it to them Insta, Twitter, whatever the case may be. Them can't stop me now. Because most children don't watch television anyway these days.
True.
You know what I mean? So we have the opportunity. So moving forward, after all of that scenario, and we will come back to that the next time I bring you on. You know, what did you do? I know that you did some studies and you've put on a few conferences. I've been to one of your conferences. Tell us a bit about that.
So the 80s was about the defense campaign. It was all about Broadwater Farm. It was about building and delivering services to our community. Let me just quickly tell you people this. You know, after the uprisings, Broadwater Farm was a place that you can imagine. But after the uprisings, we had 1,400 police officers on the estate nearly every day. The thing happened in October 1985. In January 1987, we had to call Newman to the estate and say, "Come on, it's time you take with these police." You hear what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
We was under siege, and milkman wouldn't deliver milk.
I remember trying to come to Broadwater Farm and couldn't get in.
Luck after that.
I remember that.
Broadwater Farm was the first place that they delivered milk in plastic bottle from mainland Britain, because they said we're going to make petrol bomb and come after them again.
It was good that they felt that way, though.
Well, it kept them, but remember, you know, they came, we was under siege. We was under pressure like nobody's business, brother. From October 85, I said, until January 87, you know, brother.
Mm-hmm.
They were just on us, right? So hear this. Whilst they're on us now, and it's critical that young ones hear this, Broadwater Farm wasn't just about this estate like it is today when they have gang. Broadwater Farm was about community, and it was about frontline. Man from Hornsey, Turnpike Lane, Wood Green, Edmonton, Stamford Hill, Manor House, everywhere came to Broadwater Farm, frontline. We were community. After this, because there's all these police there, the man them started now, fams, we're not coming to the farm. And this is where the ends is created. They said they're going to stay on their ends. But brothers, we were still all connected and interconnected. The problem happened when now, because of the uprisings, you know, we know the police started to allow and encourage Class A drugs. Right? Because they want to weaken the community's infrastructure.
And they brought in the informers and the people them with it. That story needs to be told as well.
To come and mash us down. Come and mash us down. And we know what they sent over to Brixton, man, rapists and murders. And in our ends, they sent the drugs. So the hard drugs becomes the commodity, even to all the man them on the ends. When their children are born, we haven't kept up the link. Their children, instead of looking around and seeing community, they look around and they see competition.
Stop there, brother. Stop there, brother Stafford. I want you to repeat that sentence again, because I think that sentence is so poignant.
So when they look up and they look around, because we haven't managed to keep the links in our community, we lose all the spaces and places. Councils took away places from us. Places got closed down. We haven't got that link. So when our younger ones are born, they look up, and when they look at someone across the road from them, instead of see community, They see competition.
Shay.
They see competition. The creation of the ends, which is the breaking down of community. And we all know without unity, you can't have community. And that's where that began. On my own personal journey, we had, I go off and I developed my skills because I want to be a proper community development worker, a proper community activist. I don't want to be just somebody who talks about doing things. I want to learn how to do things. So I've been through a lot of things. But true time don't allow. 2011, I'm the guy who leads the march to that police station about Mark Duggan, who was shot in Tottenham. And as a result of that march, and because of how the police treated that family, and I've been on Galaxy before and spoken about how the police disrespected the family. They killed Mark Duggan when they didn't have to kill him. He didn't have the gun on him at the time, and then they planted the gun afterwards, 7 meters away from his body. They put in the media claims about shootout, suggesting that he had come out blazing and that he had shot police officer, and they hadn't told his parents what happened to him. And his parents had to listen to all these things on the media. His mum was bawling when I went there. Staff, I don't know if this is true. I don't know if he's going to walk through the door, if I should listen to this thing. So we had to go to the police station. And we went there and they were disrespectful of us. They didn't want to tell us nothing. They closed the police station, actually. And everybody knows it kicked off there, and then it kicked off in so many different areas all over the UK. And there was an expression of youth dissatisfaction with the system.
They lock up over 3,000 youth for that, innit?
They locked up 1,292. Right, they may have arrested 3,000. They convicted 1,292 people who they sent to prison for 1,800 years. You want me to repeat that? 1,292 people were convicted of participating in riots and whatever in 2011, and they were sentenced to 1,800 years in prison. The most significant sentence was given to, I think it was Johnson boys or Barker boys from Birmingham who shot at the police helicopter. They received 30 years. I had a client, Wayne Taylor, he come from Luton, but he went to Birmingham to go to the Birmingham Carnival, and he ended up hanging out with these men then because he had met them on holiday in Ibiza. He didn't know that they were part of a gang. He's there the night, and he's caught on CCTV, and the judge's final words to this young man is, "I can see that you didn't do anything. You didn't help to burn the pub, and you didn't help to shoot at the helicopter, but your presence emboldened them, so I'm going to give you 18 years. It's called joint enterprise, and that young man is still in there under that sentence. So, again, I've tried to support people and stop people from being arrested and put in there. I was part of the Broadway Farm Defence Campaign originally, then I set up the Tottenham Defence Campaign to defend and support people to ensure that they wasn't wrongly arrested and charged for matters that happened in Tottenham. And we were very successful because very few true Tottenham people went to prison.
You know, brother, I'm definitely. I think what I'm gonna have to do is bring you on the Thursday show, where I have a lot more time that we can sit down, relax, and we can really go through your story alongside the story of our people in Tottenham. You know, because a lot of stories is about people in Brixton, but Tottenham was like another front line that actually dealt with the police, not only on a physical basis, but also on a political and a legal basis. And that story needs to be told. But tell me about you retraining and things like that. And what led you to... Because you remember that conference you did at the university down in Elephant and Castle. What year was that again?
Okay, so...
The one that I went to.
Yeah.
About the police and all that stuff.
I did one in 2018, so you came in 2016. Yeah. Post Duggan, then I went to work with the monitoring group. The monitoring group is a group that supports the community to challenge discrimination, racial intolerance, racial hatred, and religious intolerance. And there at the monitoring group, when I joined the monitoring group now as Tottenham Defence Campaign, then we set up a project called Tottenham Rights.
Tottenham what?
Right, so that's Tottenham Rights.
Rights, Tottenham Rights, all right.
Yeah, I know it sounds like riots, and that's why we like it. But it's Tottenham Rights. And that's the organisation that I'm the coordinator of today.
I want to take you back to 2016, because at that conference, you were able to get a policeman, an ex-detective, so to speak, to come out and explain about the tactics they used to use and were still using on the black community. And I thought that was quite poignant that you could get a policeman to come up there and actually tell us these things. And he was telling us the things that he could say and what he couldn't say under the Official Secrets Act.
Absolutely.
I can't remember the name of that policeman again.
And, at the moment, it just slips, Peter Francis. Right? Peter Francis. So, as a result of my activities back in the 80s, because imagine now, we're doing this defence campaign, the police have framed our brethren, and we're doing everything to prove that. So we come under a heck of police scrutiny, and not only do I get arrested by the police a couple of times for the Blake Locks murder, but it transpires later on that the police were spying on us. So I'm part of the undercover police inquiry that is taking place at the Royal Courts of Justice at the moment. Although I don't participate, foolishness still. So we were spied on, and that officer there, he revealed that the Lawrence family was spied on.
So was ours.
Sorry? Of course, my brother. No doubt, yeah, there's no doubt that they would have been there, that they would have had people there, and they'd thought, oh, come on, man, the things they did to us back in those...
I got a text that just come in here, WhatsApp. It says, can you please ask him for the whereabouts of Winston?
Winston?
Yeah.
Winston Silver?
Yep.
Yo, you saw Winston. You was there on Saturday at my team. Winston was there in the family, but he doesn't like me to... He doesn't like me to always identify him, but he was there, man. Winston's where the only place he can be. He's at the bosom of the community in Tottenham. My man's living... He's so... after all what he went through, and the person who asked must have saw how vilified he was in the headlines. How absolutely vilified he was, even after we got him... acquitted of Blakelock's murder. The media still want to suggest he is Blakelock's murderer. They want to say he was some super thug and that he controlled all of us and forced us to join in the policeman's murder. So the only place he can live successfully is back in our community. And he's there. And he's so humble and so chill, you would not believe that he went through what he went through back in those days.
I got another text from Sam. It says, Kwaku, can you please ask your guest if he is disappointed with our young children who are not united? Like us when we were younger.
1,077%. Totally. I mean, come on, look. Who could have believed that we could come to this? Where we were young and we were struggling in this racist country, we fought, literally, hands, tooth and nail to get rid of the racists and to stop the racist attacks. Come on, family.
You know what, brother Stafford, I want to just pause you there. I think what we did, we were able to get rid of the overt racist attacks, but the covert racist attack, it continued.
Right? But this is what I'm saying, family. These young people, they don't even have to contend with what we went through.
No.
That need for us to fight the racists, the National Front. These people talk about black, we don't talk about
EDL.
UKIP and EDL. They're my idiot compared to the National Front. The National Front was an army. And then they had all them skinhead.
Yeah.
And we fought them so... Listen, we had to fight. And we fought them so... From my perspective, brother, this was my thing. My parents' generation accepted that they were second-class citizens in the white man's land. And the white man told them, you are second class, not because of the color of your skin, but because you haven't had our education. Our parents believed that education would be an equalizer for us. They drummed that into us. They forced us to believe that. But when we left school, we found out that education meant nothing because to them we were just we were all just black. To me, I used to get white people telling me, why don't you go back to where you come from? That used to burn me, brother, just as much as the N-word,
Yeah, yeah.
Because I knew little about Jamaica. I wasn't going to go to Jamaica. My parents are here. This is where I'm born, and this man's telling me to go back to where I come from. So what that told me was I was going to have to fight for this space, and I was going to have to fight him. So that he understood.
It's funny that you just said that, because a text come in and said, can you please ask the brother if he's from Jamaican origin? If yes, now I know why he's a strong African.
Yeah, my parents sent Mary and Portland. Daddy from St. Mary, Mummy from Portland. We're growing up here, so we had to fight for our space. And in fighting for our space, and in fighting the races, what happened was we created this thing called white flight.
Yes.
People don't talk about them things, right? We become ragamuffin and we start stand our ground. And in us standing our ground, white people retreated and they ran. They moved to Essex and Kent. This is how newer communities manage to come into these spaces and places. But these newer communities, they don't give us no respect for that.
No.
Because if we didn't do that, they would never be allowed in. And it's ironic that now we see these white people coming back for the said spaces. And
they've come back and they've in Brixton, mate. They've just taken the space, mate.
Regeneration.
Yeah. I got a WhatsApp coming here. It says, Altep Kwaku, Elop Stafford, one of the most respected man in the black community, gave me great inspiration when defending Winston Silcott. I was at the Duggan meeting in Tottenham when he told us about a young girl the police bruised up. When he was active, did he get followed under arrest by police? If so, how did he deal with them?
Wow. Yeah. Can we? Because I wanted to talk. We were going to talk about the young people, right? So I was just saying all the things that we went through for our community. And for our young to be warring. So we tried to make the place a bigger place to live in. Remember, we used to get nicked for sus when we went to West End, but they didn't want us in West End. And we wanted to liberate everywhere for our kids to be able to go anywhere they wanted to go. And our kids, the way they live today, they just make their world smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller until their world is about their heads. Their way of making their world big is their mobile phone. Yes. I feel so sorry for them. They live no life. I feel so sorry for them. But at the same time, so hungry that they can want to kill people that look just like them, that are oppressed just like them, they're under the knee of the system just like them, that they want to cause death to other people so easily. For no real reason whatsoever. No real proper reason whatsoever. And I'm not saying that... I was brought to a farm, we were frontline. Mum was a general. So I'm not saying that because I'm a pacifist. We have to sort out, because we don't call the police, we have to sort out our business. But we have to have respect for each other. And if we don't get driven to want to do what these young people are doing to each other, it's a madness, son. It's a madness. It's a madness.
I got a text here. It says, can you, he says, please congratulate the brother. I saw him on Newsnight. I was really impressed with him. Can you ask the brother if he has visited the African continent and Jamaica?
I love the questions. You know. All right. So the Broadway Farm Youth Association, we did a exchange trip to Jamaica in the 1980s. That's the first time I went down, family. Went down there, about 30 of us. We fundraised and we went down there. And then when we brought from Jamaica, we brought about 30 of them. It's when we came back from Jamaica that the uprising happened. And we went down to Jamaica and we get crazy. And we said, rah, we're not playing with the white man when we get back to England. You know?
Seed.
So it changed our attitude. And in terms of Africa, you see my brother Bernie Grant, my mentor, rest in peace. Yeah. Bernie made me go to Africa. Bernie took me to Kenya and Tanzania. Bernie made me know the ANC when South Africa was still under apartheid. I have photographs that they're my memorabilia with me and Oliver Tambo, Simon Gomo, Julius Nyerere. Yeah, I've been out there, family. I've been out there.
You know, my brother. Listen. Your story is such a beautiful story that I'm going to open up the lines now because we've only got about 35 minutes left, and I'm sure some people.
Question I need to answer: the brother who asked how a man survives.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, we survive by carrying ourselves clean and having a clean heart, and the system comes all the time and it always harasses. Just 6 years ago was the last time I was arrested by police on foolishness on road. I protected a young woman from attack, and the police arrested me because I was a black man, and there's a white man attacking an Asian woman. I took civil action against the police. I got amazing solicitors. They're called Bart Murphy, the best civil lawyers out there. And the police paid me £10,000, and I have a letter here, a letter of a full apology where they acknowledge that my race had something to play with the way I was treated. Me, and between myself, my family, and my in-laws, and obviously I support all of them, we've taken £180,000 out of police coffers in civil actions. There's lots of different ways to make these people pay, but always stand up to them and make them pay. And they get coward after a while because they know.
And you know, I'm going to bring you in this. I think you just need to come in the studio and, you know, you can take us through certain things because that experience is something that we need to share with the general public. And so the public know that there's mechanisms that they can use. You know what I mean? So I'm going to open up the lines now. If anybody want to ask our brother Stabbert, our warrior king, any questions, then feel free because the number is +44 if you are abroad. If you're here in British Britain, it's 02 07 193 0174. You can call that number and you can ask our brother a question. Top caller, what's your name? Where you calling from? Top caller. 02 07 193 0174. Or you can send in a question via the WhatsApp or the text. I'm not taking any unknown calls though. I'm telling people that now. No unknown calls will be taken on the show today. Yeah? 02 07. Yeah. OTEP caller. OTEP caller. Not getting. I'm trying to, because we've got a system here, Stafford, and then you press a certain thing and just link them in, and then they can talk to you while we're on air. But unfortunately, it seems like something's happening to it at the moment. I did say I'm not taking any unknown calls. So anybody who's calling up as an unknown caller, I'm not taking no unknown calls. So you can just forget about the unknown call thing. If we can reveal ourselves to you, you can reveal yourself to us. You understand me?
Of course.
Because if you believe, say, the people them can't hear you, then you're an idiot. It's not something. Engineer, we're having problems here. So engineer, Muta, I know, if you're tuning, it now link. It now allow me to link the call him. Yeah? It now allow me to link the call him. But I got another question here. Can you please ask him what does he thinks about the way Dawn Butler, Diane Abbott, and the other black MP, and it just says that. That's all it says. Probably asking, what do you think of Dawn Butler and them people?
Oh, boy. All right, so I don't think it'd be fair to talk specific. If we're talking about black politicians in general, then I think that look, we don't have no black politicians. We spoke about Brother Bernie. He was a black politician, right? You could write to him from Birmingham or Scotland. As long as you're black, he's going to respond. He'd never send you that standard letter that says, "I'm really sorry, but my constituency is blah, blah, blah."
See.
All right, so before I even say anything about them, let me tell them. If Bernie Grant was alive today, the Windrush scandal would never have happened. Never. Because he would have had people contacting him from all over, and he would have joined the dots. Whereas all these constituency MPs would only see people in their constituency. Bernie would have stopped that in his track. If Bernie Grant was alive today, there would be no such thing as the Matrix, the racist gang database. So remember I said I take my learning from Bernie now. Bernie was my mentor. He taught me about political power. He taught me about power, you know. Power is just around the corner, and people think power is some far-off place, some distant place. We have power, and we have the power to hold these people to account. If he was alive, things would be different. My thing at the moment I'm fighting against is the Matrix. So it's not just ancient battles a man has been involved. I think right now, and I don't think our black community understands what the Matrix means to policing and the black community in general, because that's what's fueling the brutality that we're witnessing out on the streets at the moment. I could go into that, but I don't know if you want me to go into all of that, fam.
No, well, you can, because the thing about it is I'm trying to link people on with you, and the system is playing about. So unless people might have to just WhatsApp in and text in their questions. Yeah, and then I'll ask brother that. Yeah, so you can WhatsApp in your questions on the Facebook or on the text. It's a 073 77 920703. Yeah, so we're having problems with our stacking calls, and so I got a text. What do you think about after Brexit this country would turn out to be?
Poorer, that's most definite. And more difficult for we. I mean, Brexit was the English telling the world, right? We still think that we're better than everybody else. It was going to then open up the doors to maybe Asian communities. And whether or not it was going to give any hope to our communities, I don't know, my brother. I really don't know. I mean, in some sense, I wanted to see Brexit as being for them business, even though we know we're going to have to take the squeeze with them. Brexit was the turkeys voting for Christmas, though. And it tells you how racist these people are. If they're racially discriminating against Polish people, and not for them cousin or them brother, it tells you how deep, how internalized that imperialistic, supremacist mindset is with these people here. It tells you how far we have to go to fight them too, family. Because if they don't want to give the Europeans right, you think they're going to be quick to give us rights? All with the Black Lives Matter movement of recent, all we hear is platitudes. Nothing's changed.
You know, you and I was on the phone talking the other day, and you mentioned, you said something to me in regards to this whole Black Lives Matter thing, and I'd like you to repeat what you said to me, if you remember. It take America and them make you stand up or something like that.
I think I said that the people need to check themselves. They really need to check themselves, to ask themselves why it took something in America to wake them up. But don't get me wrong. Do you know what, brother? I keep on wanting to say I saw what happened to George Floyd, but I never looked too far. I couldn't watch that something there too long. I couldn't watch that too long. I don't understand those people who were there as well, because again, what we were famous for back in the days, we had take policemen off. We're taking policemen off, and then we're taking the consequences of that. Anyway, it was terrible. But so was the murder of Rashan Charles. And we saw that on camera.
Tell them about tell us about that story, the old Rashan, because a lot of people don't know that this type of thing happened here before.
This was just 2 years ago, a shop just up the road in Dalston, where the policeman chased him into the shop. They said he put something in his mouth, and the policeman grabbed him and strangled him and flung him to the floor, lick him out before he dropped on the floor. This youth here was so skinny and mild, and no disrespect to the youth, and the big old policeman, and then a passerby as well, a Havergal, held him down, and they squeezed the life out of him and killed him. They say that they found a plastic bag in his throat, and the plastic bag contained paracetamol or something, so not even drugs, and they killed him. And people here didn't stand up, and we saw it on video, and they exonerated themselves. And people here didn't make no outcry. So, yeah, I understand what we saw was terrible, but I don't understand why we needed that for people to wake up, my brother. We've got so many instances of police brutality.
I think what it is,
in custody here.
I think what it is, my brother, is that I think the way that the whole social media system is set, it's all geared around the United States of America. And so anything that goes on in there seems to just spread out. You understand me? So it's almost like the struggles that we've been fighting for many years here are not as popular because, the people in the United States don't really business about what's happening with black people here, in a sense, or they're not looking at it. Do you understand me? Yeah?
Let me be clear, brother. Because Bernie took me to America too. Right? I met American leaders too, Jesse Jackson, Reverend Abernathy, Angela Davis, and my brother. I'm not saying that the biggest states people don't have understanding, but I heard Louis Farrakhan once say the worst thing African Americans ever did was identify themselves as African American. The Black Panthers was black. So we could all relate. African Americans is an exclusive club. And my brother, again, and this isn't hating on the African Americans, We're all one people, they just got off a different stop to us, isn't it? But they were chopped off a different stop to us. Right? But you know what, again, because they live in a country where they believe in the American dream. Right? They see themselves as different. And also, because of decisions that was taken in the 60s due to the civil rights movement, there was a creation of a black middle class. They have an infrastructure, a business infrastructure. So what they did, praise be to them, is they're good at telling their story. So we read it, and we can't criticize them because we haven't told our story. You know what, Peter?
That's right. That's right.
So the American story of slavery is the story of slavery we're told. But let me tell you something. American slavery, and again, it's not about compare and contrast, but these are facts. American slavery wasn't as terrible and as brutal as slavery in the Caribbean. You know that? Do you know that, my brother?
Well, I take the position that any farm or slave that happened to our people was brutal, and I'm not going to say which was worse and which was better.
No.
They were raping and killing the same way they were raping and killing everywhere else.
No, my brother. Here I'm saying to you, I'm saying we understand. We've heard roots. What a terrible story. I talk about Kunta up until today, but because we don't get to tell our stories, right? We just hear it one way.
Yeah.
Why I say that is this. This is really good now. Go and check the history book. Then I'm going to show you that 50,000 Africans got taken to America as slaves. 50,000. I think it's 50,000. Might be 500,000. I'm pretty sure it's 50,000.
No, it's more than
and
that.
at the end of slavery, no, brother, because they have the breeding farms.
Yeah, they're the breeding farms, yeah.
Slavery in the Caribbean is going on early, right? The South Atlantic slave trade gets stopped. So they have the breeding farms in America. At the end of slavery, they'll have about 500,000 slaves. They've multiplied. Jamaica, there's a 1 million there over all of those years. At the end of slavery, there was 10,000 there, my brother. That's genocide. Barbados, which was the first slave colony.
For the British.
No. You know, in our community, historically, Caribbeans have said that Barbados is little England and little London, right? Because Barbados was the experiment. That's where they created the system, and that's where they broke people, my brother. So what I'm saying is we have some histories that we as peoples haven't discovered or shared with each other. And those people who are the legacy of those histories, that's us here in the UK. So we have to understand, we suffer from something called post-traumatic slave syndrome. I brought Dr. Joy DeGroy Leary here about 3 different times, fam. Everybody write down that name. Actually, she remarried. Everybody write down the name. Dr. Joy LeGroy. Legruy. Post-traumatic slave syndrome. Because she's an American, she recently took down her videos, but if you YouTube, you'll find where she's doing some work for me. And she talks about post-traumatic slave syndrome. Now, if I'm saying to you slavery was as wicked as it was in those countries, and we're still to receive counseling, then you know that I know for a fact I'm afflicted with post-traumatic slave syndrome, and I know that if I didn't know, my children would be afflicted with it. But because I know, I try to ensure that I don't feed them the poison. So our young people behaving how they do, why they are so wild and react to things so wild, is because they too are suffering from post-traumatic slave syndrome. And they're also traumatized from the homes they've grown up in and from some of the shit that they've seen in life.
Hold on there, brother. I'm trying to link. Otep? Oh, I thought I had another call on there. Right, let me read out a couple of texts. Bless up, Prophet. I missed some of the class. Ask your guests which year was the Broadwater farm. You said it earlier, but you can tell them again.
October 6, 1985.
Greetings, Prophet and the brother. The young people are turning in on themselves. It's not their fault. It's the responsibility of us, the elders, to guide them and to do what program is doing now. Speaking out. Now what needs to be done is bring the youth into the space and do what needs to be done. That's
easier said than done, family.
Yeah, I know that, King. I know that. Greetings. Respect and honor Prophet Kwaku and Stafford Scott. They are hidden hands that have been at play. In regards to our youth behaving, how they behave to them one another, when the UK man them turn real, ragamuffin in the, real, ragamuffin in the early 80s, that's when the crack operation began, along with overt violence in our music and on our television, especially in the America influence. Kwaku, fascinating to hear Scotty's story. We definitely need to hear more of his fight. It brings back my brother's fight for justice. Little more. And yeah, that's that text there. Yeah, a lot of people is, something's wrong with our system. There's been several calls, but they haven't been able to come through, beloved. So we can just continue until, we only got about 16 minutes left. So, so now what do you think is the best way for us as people who are still attempting to get rights and justice and vengeance, because my word is vengeance, King, for the atrocities against our people? How best would you say, in your own words, my brother, to go about that?
Okay. So, there is no one answer, all right? You know me, my brother. You asked me why I don't come on certain march, isn't it? And you know I march, and you know I organize. So why I don't come on the reparations march? And I should come, just out of brotherly support. But why I don't come is there's a principle, and that principle is this: the reparations is the final pin in our fight for justice. That's what reparations is about. It's about justice. So then if we can't get justice for Rashan Charles, who we saw murdered in front of our eyes, if we can't get justice for Cynthia Charrett, if we can't get justice for Mark Duggan, we'll get reparations from these people, family.
Ashe, point taken.
Right? We're not going to get it. It's why I say to the BLM people who want to jump up about George Floyd, I told you, no disrespect, it was terrible. But if we can't get justice for Rashan Charles, Mark Duggan, in this country, how can we get justice for George Floyd? Justice is like charity, it starts at home. And we have to fight for it. And we have to make them know that we'll go to any ends for it. I got a quote by Frederick Douglass, you know that, and it says, when the system works out just how much you'll take and not fight back, that's how much they'll give you. So we have to turn up to this system. The system isn't as strong as they want you to believe it is, brother.
Right, a question coming. Can you please ask him if he had written for the Guardian newspaper? And can you please ask him what is his favourite newspaper, radio station and best journalist? Can you please ask him what does he thinks about Trevor Phillips?
Yes, I write for the Guardian. When issues happen and I want to reach out further than the community, I use the Guardian to do that. And especially since 2011, I've used the Guardian to write a lot of articles that I think are of public interest. Favourite journalist is Gary Young, who also writes for the Guardian, but he's levels and levels and levels and levels and levels above. Trevor who? I mean, again, that's the biggest seller I've seen in my life. I mean, look, that man there, when he was at the Commission for Racial Equality, prior to that, he was Thames TV. He used to make some good documentaries.
Yeah.
I'm not even playing. He made this documentary about Britain and the slave trade. Yo, that was wicked. Informative, educational. Loved him for that. Then he took the job as the CRE, but he was just a Labour puppet. Right? Blair puppet. And then he got the job at as the Equalities and Human Rights. And now hear what now? When that job was put out, people need to understand, the first ever equality legislation, race equality legislation, the first equality legislation was about race in this country. So all other equality legislation, so gender and disability is built on the back of race.
Yes, definitely.
right? Now, this is fact. But when they set up the Equalities and Human Rights Commission, and this is an organization that we must publicly attack at every opportunity, my brother. When they set it up, Trevor Phillips took the job. Before, they said none of the commissioners for the equality commissions, there was a woman's, there was a disability, and there was race. None of them could get the job as head of the ECHR. Somehow, Trevor Phillips ended up with the job as the head of ECHR, and the payment that he had to give the state was that he didn't set up a standing committee on race. Yeah. There was one on gender. That's why you see right now white women are vying with white men to hand over the baton. White women is grabbing the baton from the white man, and when they talk about when they sit there and they want to talk about diversity, you hear the white woman and the white man talking. That's what's been good about Black Lives Matter, because it's forced that discussion now. It's forced them to change that discussion a bit now. That's what's been good about what's happened out there, because we have to take the positives as well. But the problem with Black Lives Matter, it lacks focus, and if people come out in such numbers for America, it's telling the English system that what they're doing to us here is acceptable. Because people are not coming out in those kind of numbers for us here.
That's a very important point. It says, what do you think about the black community stations not talking normal, talking no more, and not doing talk shows no more?
You know, look, here I am, brother. I've been with you. I told you I was going to give you an hour, and we're still here, man. Because the media is critical for sending out information to our community, critical for helping us disseminate thoughts, having gatherings, sharing information. To just be playing music all day, to me, I don't know. I hardly listen to the radio because I don't see the point in that. I think we must use it to inform. The media is critical and crucial, and as we don't own no newspaper or no TV channels, we should be reliant on community radios to bolster and educate and inform our communities.
I got another question. It says, Stafford being a great inspiration and survival for me. What do you do when you have police in your own family and use their power against you, and your own family don't believe you about police harassment because they see you as the black sheep?
I used to work in the monitoring group as an advocacy caseworker, and that's the kind of thing you'd have to bring and sit down and unpack and unravel, my brother. My family is not the kind of family that would ever have a police officer in their ranks. Most definitely not. So it's really difficult for me to be able to
answer that question.
But I can feel a man's pain and can imagine your frustration if that's in your family and you feel towards the police anything like I do.
So could Stafford repeat the details of the book, please? You haven't wrote the book yet.
Yeah, that book hasn't been written, but let me say this, okay? All right, so first of all, people know I also did the Mark Duggan campaign. And if you go to Guardian Online and type in forensic architecture Duggan model, you will see for the first time, and this is the most amazing thing in all my 40 years of activism, I found an agency that has used the words of the police, only the words of the police and Home Office pathologists that were used in the inquest, to create a graphic that shows us what happened that day to Mark Duggan. So please, I'd ask people to go and look at that.
Repeat that again, beloved.
It's called the Forensic Architecture Model. It's on the Guardian Online, and there's a model there. Once you click on, you'll see it shows you the hard stop in which Duggan was murdered, and it shows you clearly that Duggan was murdered. That there was no way he could have been shot And all those police officers not seen where the gun went. But no police officer saw where it went. They couldn't find it for 7 minutes, and it's found 7 meters away from his body. So they're showing how this gun was planted there. It's amazing. It really is, and it's going to force the state to reopen the Duggan case. And that exhibition, we're going to take it to the Institute of Contemporary Art in January. We would be on now if it wasn't for COVID. And we're going to take over this whole entire institute. I don't know if your listeners know it. I didn't know it.
I don't know
it's a controversial...
I'll tell you what I'm going to do, brother, because we've got 6 minutes left.
But let me quickly say this. But we're going to have an exhibition there with every campaign that I've ever been involved in my life at the Institute for Contemporary Art. The address is the Mall, which is the same road as Buckingham Palace. So we're taking our campaigns right in our Babylon.
I'll tell you what we're going to do, right? Because
3 months.
I'm going to, on Thursday, I'm going to invite you to call in again, Thursday night. Because obviously you've got another campaign going on outside Scotland Yard, and we literally got 5 minutes to go. So I just want you to take a minute and tell us a bit about that. Say your buys, and then I'm going to wrap up the show, and then boom, we're going to try if you're not busy, boom, and we'll continue Thursday.
Well, we're going to do this again, family. So very quickly, I mean, I don't know if people saw, but one of those people who got tasered in Tottenham recently was my 62-year-old brother. Tasered, they almost killed him. His name's Millard Scott.
The one that them tears in at the yard, isn't it?
62. Tased him, almost killed him, family. All right? And they tased another young man and crippled him in Tottenham, which is why I put on that demonstration that you saw the other day, brother. I said we had about 1,000 people turn up, and now we feel that we're going to take that demonstration to Scotland Yard, and I hope that South London supports us. We're going to come to Scotland Yard on the 12th of September, and we're telling Cressida Dick, the Commissioner for Police, says she forgot. This refusal and denial to accept that the police as institutional racist is an affront to all of us. And if we hang around and don't do something, they're going to kill someone. We're going to have our own George Floyd here. So before that happens, I say, make we get up and make we go to Scotland Yard. Bring it to the headquarters and tell them that the head racist in chief must go. Please come out and support us. That's going to be on the 12th of September this year, people.
Stafford, my brother, it's been an African pleasure to communicate with you over the Galaxy at freeway.com. And definitely we're going to do this again. Yeah? Right, so you stay safe, my brother. And me and we're talking at a week, yeah?
Yes, Richard.
Give thanks.
Work out what we're doing, yeah?
All right, Otep.
Enough love. Peace.
Peace. Well, there you had it, the great Stafford Scott. And, I'm going to make it my duty to be bringing on people in our community who's been doing works over the years that nobody don't know about them. He's a silent, he sounds like a silent warrior, but he's out there doing the work on a big thing over in Tottenham. And his resume speaks for itself. It's been a pleasure to host that brother. And I want to say apologies to people that could not get through. There was something wrong with the system, and I do apologize on behalf of Galaxy at freeway.com. Engineers is working tirelessly to rectify that. I want to say also, in order for me to be able to do these shows, this show is actually sponsored by African Development Enterprise. 48 Rye Lane Indoor Market, Peckham Southeast 15 5 Bravo Yankee. Check them out. Best in printing, designs, all that type of stuff. You know what I mean? Just go and check them out down there in Peckham from Monday to Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Putting their money where their mouth is. So they actually sponsor this show, the Nubian Forum People's Talk Show. And so I just want to say, Stafford, I don't know what else to say. I'm quite inspired by the work of that brother. And he's 2 years my senior, and so he's my elder. And so I honor and I respect him for that. And, I'll be bringing on other people on it. There's a particular brother that I want to bring on. He had a little heart problem the other day. So I can't bring on, but I'm definitely going to contact him, definitely get him in the studio, and definitely start to interview our soldiers and soldieresses on the front line. You've been in tune to the Newbury Informed People's Talk Show, live here on GalaxyAfiwi.com. It's been a pleasure, honor, and up next is it Variety Man. Variety Man is up next. So we give thanks and praises unto the creating force of the universe, the omnipotent being, that which is greater than ourselves. Itepe, Ineke, Jea, Senebe. Divine peace, long life, stability, and good health. Onetemagba, Tonomefila, Olodumare, Jakimba. May the path that we take, my people, be the correct path. Otep.